What makes up your favorite round of golf? Is it your best score, your favorite course you ever played, the people you played with, or maybe another situational circumstance that made it a special round? Hey everybody, I'm Brent Martineau, and this is the Dream 18 podcast presented by Florida Georgia Windows and Doors and Power T. Kasey Kuhrts will join me as well, and our first guest of this first episode of Season 1 is PGA Tour pro Jum Furyk, as we go blow by blow through one of the most special rounds of golf ever on the PGA Tour and Furyk's favorite round. The Dream 18 was born back in 2010. The idea, the concept, coming off the recession in Northeast Florida. Golf is a big deal, but golf was struggling coming off the economic disaster. We wanted to promote the sport of golf, promote youth golf, and we also wanted to give ourselves a little content on the TV side of things at the local CBS and Fox affiliate in Jacksonville, Florida. So we created the Dream 18. We played different holes with celebrities, golf pros, first tee kids, and also media members. That morphed into a charity golf tournament, and we now continue to do that charity golf tournament and have raised more than $200,000 for local charities in the Jacksonville area, namely North Florida Junior Golf Foundation and St. Michael's Soldiers. From there, we wanted to grow the brand of the Dream 18 a little bit more. And that leads us to this, the debut show of the Dream 18 podcast, brought to you by Florida Georgia Windows and Doors and Power T. What is your favorite round of golf? We want to know what that is, not just for our celebrity guests and people of interest, and they're not all golfers, by the way, but from you. Hashtag Dream 18 on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And we will mention some of those fantastic rounds of golf in your words as we continue on with Season 1 here on the Dream 18 podcast. Let's begin, though, with Jum Furyk in his own words about one of the most magical rounds ever on the PGA Tour. A 58 at TPC River Highlands back in 2016. A round of golf Jum Furyk never imagined on that weekend, but put him in the record books forever. Kasey Kuhrts joins myself and Jim right now about that magical day. Well, the Dream 18 show concept is all about a great round of golf, your best round of golf, your favorite round of golf. It doesn't always have to be a fantastic score, but well, for this gentleman, it sure was a fantastic score. In fact, the best ever on the PGA Tour. We welcome in Jum Furyk after a 58 at TPC River Highlands, a few years back now. Jim, I didn't know which one you were going to pick. You had the 59 a little bit earlier, a few years back, I think in 2013. Of course, the U.S. Open. You have Ryder Cup rounds. You probably have great rounds with your buddies, too, but 58 was pretty special, wasn't it?
Absolutely. I think when you think of great rounds or fun rounds, I think a lot of folks are going to pick the same one, right? Their favorite round is going to be either the lowest score they ever shot, or maybe with special people. You get your son and your dad, and maybe a whole bunch of family together. Maybe play at a special place. But if you made me just pick one, I guess I have to go with the 58 since it's the lowest round on the tour ever.
Absolutely, a part of history, which is pretty cool. The crazy part about that day, I guess, in reading back on it, is you really were not playing that well. Do I have that right, or at least didn't feel that well? You hardly made the cut.
Yeah, I wasn't playing that well that week. I really wasn't playing that well leading up to that round. I was basically on a trip where I was playing 4 events in a row. I was going to be gone for 29 days. To be quite honest, I was pretty grouchy that last week. I made about an 8-footer on Friday to just make the cut in Hartford. I played a poor round of golf on Saturday where I shot 1 over par. I was in 70th place, T70 going into the 4th round. So at that point, it's basically, when's the earliest flight I can catch? And I was just so looking forward to getting home, spending some time with Tabitha and the kids, and kind of getting off the road. I had been hitting a lot of balls. I'd been practicing a lot. I was pretty much worn out at that point. And so really I kind of entered that last round, though, in a good frame of mind, just in the fact that I was headed home. So, I'd really nothing to gain, nothing to lose on Sunday. And I was excited to hop on a plane and get home early and have dinner with the family.
Jim, is that a situation where you're trying to maybe play the fastest round of your life? I know a lot of guys, when they're down there on Sunday, they just try to play quick and get out of there. Is that what was in your mind, and then things started to change pretty quick for you?
Well, I think, it's easy to play quick when you're in 70th place and there's twosomes out on the golf course. I think I was either the third or the fourth group out on the golf course. Everyone in front of you is going to play in 3 hours and 15 minutes. You know that, in a twosome on a golf course where there's not a lot of walks between greens and tees, and you're going to play quick. I mean, you're going to play in 3 hours and 15 minutes. So, I was excited. I mean, I kind of woke up that morning and, again, happy mood. I remember having a good conversation at breakfast with some friends, and I kind of stayed a little longer than I should have, had another coffee, and, was laughing it up. And I went to the range and kind of hit a few balls and, chatting with the guy next to me, and we were kind of laughing. I mean, things are pretty loose on Sunday morning at 7 a.m., put it that way. No one's all that tight or upset at that time. As you get closer to noon, everyone gets a little quieter. But I didn't even hit any practice putts that morning because I was just kind of falling behind. I was chatting too much and not really going through my normal routine. So Fluff kind of gave me a kick in the rear end and said, we only have 8 minutes. We need to get to the tee. And so we hopped on a shuttle. The range there is pretty far from the first tee. We hopped on a shuttle and probably pulled up about 4 minutes before our time.
Well, you make a ho-hum par on the first hole and make a birdie on the second hole. Okay, that's fine. But really the third hole is when things kick in a little bit and you have one of those fun moments, right?
Yeah. I hit it about 15 feet on one, missed it, which was, I really hadn't putted that well that week. And as you said, birdie two, and hit a nice drive at three and then hold a wedge for eagle. So 3 under through three, and always fun to see an iron shot go in the hole, and it kind of drew up some memories when I had shot. You mentioned earlier I shot 59 in 2013 in Chicago at Conway Farms. I hold an iron shot in that round too on the front nine, where kind of got it going early and made a bunch of birdies. And the fourth hole's probably the hardest hole on the golf course. The very next one, I hit a 4-iron about 4 feet. And, 4 under through four. So kind of got off to the races.
I was thinking about the hole out from 135 yards. The average golfer, amateur golfer, we do that. Like, wow, that was cool. That was memorable. I mean, how many times would you say you've holed out a wedge in your career, though? I mean, I'm not saying it's common. It's not a weekly occurrence, but you've probably done it quite a bit.
Yeah, I don't know. In my lifetime, a wedge from, say, outside of 80 yards, I don't know, 50 to 100 times, somewhere in there.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So that's basically all I practice anymore, especially getting older. It's a lot less stress on your hands and body, and it's, we all like to practice stuff that we're good at, and that's kind of the strength of my game is that wedge game. So I hit a ton of those shots, and I guess if you hit a million of them, you give yourself a chance to make 50. How's that?
That's true. You're 4 under through 4 holes. You par the par 3 on the next hole, and then it starts. Then you get cooking because that's 7 birdies in a row, bridging the last 4 holes of the front and the early part of the back. And really, probably by the time you make the turn, something pretty good's going on. But what is that experience like for even a player like you who's had so many big moments, played a lot of fantastic golf, but when you make 7 in a row, man, that's got to be like an out-of-body type of experience.
It is. I think, when things like that happen, you're not really thinking about a streak or, wow, how many holes did I just birdie in a row? Or I didn't really think of it that way. I was just, trying to put the ball out there and play, trying to hit an iron shot close and see a putt go in. But a lot of them were very short putts. I mean, 6 was a reachable 5 where I hit it up there about 20 feet from the pin, and I had a real easy little pitch shot that, I hit up there in almost tap-in range. 7, I almost hold an iron shot again with a 9-iron. I had a tap-in from the foot. Made a nice putt at 8, tough par 3. I made about a 20-footer there. And then I almost hold an iron shot at 9 where I had a tap-in again. I had it from a foot. So 8 under through 9. And, again, I'll go back to that round at Conway Farms. I shot the same thing there. I was 8 under on my first side and kind of making the turn. And on my way to 10, the media room's off to the right of the ninth green, and it's a place that I haven't visited very frequently, we'll say, at Hartford, because it's not a place I've really played a lot of great golf in my career. And on my way to 10, there was a lot of buzz. I mean, there was TV cameras heading to the 10th tee. There was a bunch of print media, which you don't usually see on the golf course, especially early on Sunday. A lot of guys from the print media run into the 10th tee. And a couple of them I know pretty well, being on tour for so long, and I was kind of joking with them on the way, saying, wow, something must be pretty good out here. Get your rear end out of that media room this early in the morning on Sunday. And, a couple of them gave me a little snicker like, ha. But kind of fun. You start to realize what's going on around you. And when I teed off on number 1 on Sunday, there was probably 5 people on the tee. By the time I got over there at 10, 11, 12, there was a buzz starting to pick up a gallery, television cameras. So there's a little bit more awareness of what's going on around you, and the moment starts to feel a little bit bigger.
When, like you said, you got to 10, like you just said with the media and all that, but you get to 10 and 11 and you make 2 putts over 15 feet for birdie. You said you weren't putting well all week. When you get going early, even though they're just tap-ins, does that get it to take the top off and you can just drain them, or were you reading the greens well, or just overall just hot as fire?
I think just a little hot as fire. When you start to see them going in, you start focusing on just hitting good putts. When you go out early and you miss 3, 4, 5 putts, say in the early part of the front 9, and they're not going in, you start focusing too much on trying to make a putt. You forget about the process. You forget about staying in your routine, just hitting good, solid putts. I mean, a lot of times when I've worked with Doc Rotella in the past, I mean, instead of trying to judge your day on whether or not the putts are going in, he wants you to judge yourself on how good a quality putts did you hit. If I went out there and I hit 10 good quality putts in 10 holes and only made a few, I'm still going to have a lot of confidence. If I went out there and hit a bunch of bad putts and made a couple of them, I'm not going to have a lot of confidence because I've seen a lot of bad putts, and I'm going to start focusing on the wrong thing. So I think seeing some putts going in early, it puts you in a good frame of mind. You start, you're hitting good putts, and you're only really focused on just let's keep hitting good putts and giving them a chance, and that's when they start going in.
I would imagine at this time in the round, you're like, do anything to get a wedge and a 9-iron in my hand. You had holed one already. You knocked another one to 2 feet. You knocked another one to 1 foot. And then on 12, you knocked another one to 4 feet, I think it was. So, I mean, get me to within 135 to 145 is probably your mentality at the time.
It is. And Hartford is a bit of a short golf course by tour standards. It's a place where if you put the ball in the fairway, you're going to have a lot of shots from 100, from 150 and in, and you're going to have kind of a green light to attack. And I hit every fairway that day by memory, and I believe I hit every green as well. So, but I was kind of in attack mode at that point, and also in a place in the tournament where really had nothing to lose. I mean, like I said, going out in 70th position, it's really after the birdies at 10, 11, 12 where things start to change, and you're fighting barriers at that time. For the folks out there listening, when you're trying to break 90, when you're trying to break 80, when you're trying to break 70 for the first time, you start thinking about the score. You quit thinking about how you got there and why you've been playing so well at that point. And nothing really changes when you're trying to break a barrier like 60. The same thing happens. All the doubts, all the things that creep in your mind, you're really fighting yourself at that point rather than your golf game or the golf course.
Do you think a little bit more at this stage about those numbers and barriers because it's a par 70 golf course too, which puts that number in reach?
You do, but I think it's as you creep up. The first one was the 59 was on a par 71, and I got there where I had to make a couple birdies in the last 4 holes, and you can't help but think about it. So you've got to. We're human. It's there, and so it's how you handle that situation. I tried to, in both instances, I tried to have a lot of fun with it, and I never really thought I'd get an opportunity on tour to break 60, and I've had a couple opportunities now to do it. So I really tried to enjoy the moment. And when you go out for a round on Sunday and you're in T70, usually you can fire a pretty low number and not really make a big jump on the field. You've already put yourself so far behind. So I went out kind of, very free and firing at flags and trying to have some fun on that last round. And And to keep that same mentality once you get it a bunch under par is very difficult. You know, it's real easy to kind of become defensive and to think about the score and change your mentality, just like folks out there trying to break, say, 80 for the first time. Well, if I could just par in, or if I could just make, you know, when you start putting numbers on it like that, your game changes and you start making mistakes. So for me, trying to keep that same mentality and firing at pins was key down the stretch.
And when you get to 13, you're making birdie, birdie, birdie. You're hot as fire. You come to the second par 5 on the golf course. And now, granted, par 5, I'd make like a 19, so not a big deal here. But I think most casual fans, when they look at a par 5 on the PGA Tour, they expect the professionals to make a birdie. You make a par, again, no shame. But is that one that, in the moment, did you have to like try to mentally not let it derail you because it is a par 5?
I had some friends giving me a hard time about it because I laid up on the hole. And guys actually saw the score up on the board, and there were caddies out there following my round. Like, well, Furyk drove it in the fairway on 13. He's got 235 to the hole. And then they said he laid up. And they were kind of giving me crap. Like, how did you lay up from 235? And again, that's a tough drive. There's a lake on the right. There's treble down the left-hand side. There's OB down the left, the lake on the right. It's I don't know, to me it's a little bit of an awkward looking drive, and I drove it perfect on the hole, but I knocked it right in the middle of the divot. So I had no opportunity to go for the green. There's a lake that kind of fronts the green. I laid it up to the right in a good spot. The pin's front was kind of middle left on the lake, and there's a little bank behind it, and I was trying to kind of hit it a little past the pin and draw it off that bank towards the hole, and I hit it too hard. I got it up on top the next tier and a little too far, and left myself probably 25 feet for birdie. So not the best wedge shot, but maybe guarding a little bit from the water and not wanting to suck the ball back into the lake.
Jum Furyk with 7 straight birdies on that magical day en route to a 58, the lowest score ever recorded on the PGA Tour. He could have gone lower. What happened on the final few holes, and how there is a story about the round almost not counting. We ask Jim about that when the Dream 18 podcast continues. Brought to you by Florida Georgia Windows and Doors and Power Tee.
Yeah, and by the way, you know, the divot probably made your decision for you. If you're not in a divot, do you think you go for it?
Oh, we gotta go for it. It would have been like a 5-wood or a hybrid in there. Without a doubt, you go for it. Probably hang it out on the right side of the green a little bit and try to 2-putt from there.
Before we advance and finish this round of golf, you know, after now, you're all these birdies in the first 12 holes especially, and where you're at in this round. Do you remember anything else? You gave us a little insight about the media, and you saw people starting to pick up traction and the buzz. You could feel that, obviously. You've been out there long enough to know what that feels like. Is there anything else, a conversation with Fluff or something a fan said, or maybe in your playing group that you remember from an image standpoint that day, or was it just pretty typical outside of the buzz that you were creating?
Pretty typical. I'm sure Fluff would give you Fluff would probably have some insight. I think playing, you kind of get sheltered in your own world and playing a good round and trying to stay focused. And, you know, I guess I don't really see the periphery. I don't see a lot of the fans around me. I'll walk by friends on a golf course sometimes and never hear them or see them because I'm thinking about something in my game. And so playing a good round like that, I just kind of had my head down and in a little bit of my own world, trying to think about what it was going to take down the stretch. And I knew I had at that point I'm 11 under through 13. I've got 5 holes to go, and I'm sitting on the barrier. You know, basically I'm at 59 at that point. So anything I can do down the stretch, birdie-wise, is going to basically set the all-time record. So I know that, and I'm trying to focus. You know, I said it before, you can't help but think about it, but I'm also trying to kind of put that in the back of my mind and focus on what it's going to take to continue to keep playing well.
I think what's crazy about this round, as good as it is and was, and how hot you got, I guess you just – at the end of the day, it's really hard to even maintain that kind of fire for 18 holes. Or was it the stretch from 14 to 18? You make one birdie, actually 13 to 18, to finish off this incredible round of 58. Do you feel like you left anything out there, or is that the stretch?
Yeah, I hit a really good putt on 14 that didn't go. I hit it about 15 feet left of the pin, had a little downhill left to right slider, and I hit a really good putt that I believe went over the top side of the hole. I wasn't disappointed with it, but I did hit a good putt. Now, I thought halfway there it had a really good chance to go. 15's a drivable 4. I hit a beautiful drive. Pin was back left, and then I had it coming kind of from right center, drawing towards the pin. And the green's elevated, and the ball rolled up to the top fringe, kind of sat there for a second, and then backed up and came down the hill. And I had kind of a pitch and run probably from about 50 feet that I hit a little bit too hard, and it scooted about 8 feet by the hole, but I left myself kind of an inside left, maybe a little uphill putt, and I was walking it in. If you watch the tape, I took a step like I had knocked it in, and the putt went inside the left of the hole, and at 360 and came back right at me. And I just stopped in my tracks, and I remember thinking, well, I guess they're not all going to go in today. I mean, I missed one at 14. That one looked like it was dead center and spun out on me. And I felt like I left a little out there on 13, 14, 15 on a reachable 5, a good iron shot at 14 and a reachable 4. And I left those 3 holes at even par. But, you still have 16, 17, and 18 where a lot can happen. I mean, there's water on both 16 and 17, a couple dangerous holes. And then 18 just had given me fits all week. It was a hole that I struggled to get the ball in the fairway, and I hadn't played it very well. So at that point, just trying to collect myself and get ready to play the last 3.
I love the fact that you fire this unbelievable round, historic round, and you can actually make the case you got a little unlucky. You got the divot on the par 5, 13th, and then you get that lip out, that horseshoe with that putt. Now, you did make the putt 23 feet away on the 16th hole, so that gets you to 12 under. That's your last birdie of the day. Take us up 18, your mindset, as you're now at 58 and just trying to close it out at the very least.
Just trying to hit the fairway. It's a hole that if you hit the fairway, I knew the way it was playing that day, it was a little down breeze. Playing kind of short. I was going to get a mid-iron, short iron in my hand, but I hadn't hit the fairway all week. And if you watch the tape, it's the only time in my life I think I've ever fist pumped after a drive. I hit the drive down the right center, exactly where you want it, in mid-air. I knew it was perfect, and I went down to pick up my tee. It was kind of a fist pump, like I got it, just knowing I had now kind of the green light to try to make birdie, par to shoot 57 or 58, and didn't quite hit my best iron shot. It wasn't bad, but I hit a 9-iron 20 feet short right of the pin, had it straight uphill, right to left, and more shockingly, I guess in that situation, I was definitely nervous. It was like trying to win a tournament. The putter starts to feel light in your hands. I was tight over the putt. I mean, I felt like I had a pretty good read on it. And usually in situations like that, it's hard to get your speed correct, match up the line and the speed and get the putt to the hole. You'll see a lot of guys leave the putt short or kind of hit it weak and then tap it in. And I hit a really good solid putt. I was actually pretty proud. I knocked it about a foot, 15 inches by the hole. Had it on a pretty good line, missed it on the high side. And I kind of just, you also see, I kind of shrugged like, wow, I got it to the hole and hit a good putt, and then from there didn't really have much of a concern. It was short enough that the tap in was pretty easy.
I love that you told us you were nervous. I was about to ask you that. It felt like you're in contention, right? I mean, it felt like you're in the U.S. Open. I mean, you've been in nervous spots, man, but it kind of has that feeling.
Yeah, but I think we get nervous on the first tee as well. We get nervous sitting on leads, big putts to win. I mean, guys are nervous. It's really. That's not the point. I think the more often you put yourself there, the less nervous you get. But I think the more prepared you are to handle that moment, and it's how you handle those nerves.